Hola, hola, hola! Today I'm going to be recapping the latest episode of Drag Race España Season 5, The Secret of Bona Bridge. You guys have convinced me to keep recapping this season, so thank you. Here I am. Please engage with this video and I will keep going. Without further ado, let's get into it. The queens walk back into the workroom after the non-elimination premiere, and the girls know that this time around, no one is safe. Denebola even points out that a double elimination could occur somewhere down the line to make up for last week. And honestly, I could have used a double elimination this week, but we'll get there. So it's a new week in the competition, and the girls notice a bunch of sparkly notebooks on the workroom table. At that moment, Supreme Deluxe enters and announces that the queens need to get into pairs for this week's mini challenge. They need to come up with a tragic story that will either make Supreme laugh or cry. The catch is, one of them is the hands and one of them is the face. The speaker has to be fed ice cream by the hands whilst telling the story. Let's just say it gets a bit messy and gross. The win ends up going to La Escandalo and Ferran, which I agree. So for this week's Maxi Challenge, the queens will be acting up a storm in a new period drama, The Secret of Puente Tieso, directed by Los Harveys. As the winners of the mini challenge, La Escandalo and Ferran get to assign the roles, which is quite a new thing for Drag Race. Usually it's just one queen assigning roles, not two. But as there are still 12 queens in the competition, this makes sense. They work really well together, dividing the roles up fairly, and the queens are pretty happy except for two, Daphne Mugler and Nori, who felt cast aside. Crystal's distaste for Nyx continues from the first episode when she tells her that she actually looks younger than her. Keep in mind that Nyx is very young and Crystal is in her 50s. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because next week's preview, Crystal and Nyx get into it again, and they also got into it a little bit in the premiere episode. I'm seeing a real distaste for Nyx from Crystal forever, and I really hope she explains what it is that she doesn't like about her. Speaking of Nyx, she really comes out of her shell during rehearsals. She makes Los Harveys laugh and gives her role everything she's got. And this is such a contrast to last week. Another contrast to last week is Sutton Greco, who murdered the premiere but in the acting challenge struggled to remember the lines due to her nerves. Crystal Forever also gets the struggle edit, and Nori is doing the most, trying to turn a crappy role into something worth noticing. Expresses multiple times in this episode that she was screwed over with the role she was given. On Elimination Day, Crystal expresses how worried she is. And I was like, uh-oh, the vulnerable edit. Margarita also opens up about her homophobic, abusive father, which harkens back to episode 1 when she talked about growing up with internalized homophobia. I mean, yeah, that would do it to you. Luckily, her mother has always been supportive. So on the main stage this evening, we have Supreme Deluxe in royal blue, and there's always something so classy and elegant about Supreme. She always looks like she's come from the 80s, but she's like pageanty. I don't know what it is, she just has a very distinct style that is timeless. We also have Queen Anna Locking, Los Harveys, and extra special guest judge Yolanda Ramos. Category is Harvey Vision, and I gave my top to Ferran. However, I only like the outerwear. I did not like what she was wearing underneath. And to be honest, this runway for me was a little bit of a struggle. I understand what they're going for here. It's supposed to be looks from different media that Los Harveys have directed over the years. But even though I didn't get the references, I still didn't like the majority of the looks. For me, this was the best one, as long as she kept it on. So it's time for the secret of Puente Tieso. The standouts for me were Nyx. She was absolutely hilarious. I think Margarita also had a lot of levels to her performance. There was just something really effortless about the way that she acted in that role. Also, I don't have a picture of Laka Odilia here, and I know she was made safe, but I do feel like she could have given her role some more emotion. So it's time for the judges' critiques. La Escandalo, Ferran, Denebola, Daphne, Eva, and Laka are all made safe. The rest represent the tops and bottoms of the week. Starting with Nori, they say that she started off weak, but she tried hard with what she was given. They understood that it was a hard role for her to work with. They also enjoyed her look, but they said it had to be a lot more polished and elevated than it was. I personally didn't like this at all, but again, I wasn't a fan of this runway in general. Saturn is told that it was very challenging and difficult to work with her, and it's because she just kept forgetting her lines, but she's told she's just so naturally charismatic that they can't help but love her. And this look was gorgeous. Anna gives it the first over of the season. Alexandra was hilarious in the challenge, but the major issue here was on the runway, her wig fell off. And I have to say this, guys, don't hate me for this, but the La Veneno looks are becoming a bit Marie Antoinette for me. I've seen so many of them at this point, and I've seen better ones than this. Crystal is in the bottom for freezing up in the challenge. They said she lacked joy in her performance. Also, her runway had too many reveals. I think the last thing she was wearing was probably the best. Margarita had a great runway with an interesting storyline. Obviously, I don't understand any of these references, so I have no idea why she has a UFO on her head. Feel free to explain away in the comments. And she also got an over from Anna. Yolanda says that she brought a sense of calm to the challenge, and that's why I said she had a lot of levels. Nyx is also in the top for a very impressive, confident performance, and this was my second favourite look of the night. It was very camp but fashionable. At the end, Yolanda tells all of the queens on stage that they should be very proud. There wasn't really much to say about Untucked, except that Nyx said in her confessional she proved everybody wrong about her, and Ferran says about Alexandra, losing your wig in season 5 is a sin. Ferran sort of reminds me of Le Coco. She's got that same dry wit that I live for. Back on the main stage, the win goes to Margarita Califata. I agree, I think her and Nyx were on the same level. Satan Greco is made safe, which means it's down to Nori and Crystal Forever to lip sync it out. They performed to Zora by Nebulosa. Girl, I thought the lip sync in the premiere of Drag Race UK Season 7 was rough. Right off the bat, Nori does not know a single word. However, Crystal wasn't doing much better. It was so messy. It was so bad. The judges all looked really disappointed, and I don't blame them. It was a dumpster fire. As I said earlier, if there was ever a time for a double elimination, it was now. I would have sent both of them home. However, they decide to keep Crystal and say goodbye to Nori, making her the pork chop of the season. We don't get to see what she does with her piece of heart. I saw in the preview that they reveal that in the next episode, so that will be interesting. Do you guys have any guesses as to who Nori would give her piece of heart to? It was kind of hard to tell who she was close to in just 2 episodes. I can tell you she's not giving it to the 2 queens that assigned her that role. Next week is a design challenge, my favorite. I really want to know what you guys thought of this week's episode. Did you agree with the judging choices? Who had your favorite performance and look? What did you think the lip sync? As always, give me all the tea, and the next time you see me, I will be discussing the premiere of Dragula Titans Season 2.